The asteroid Vesta represents our capacity for extreme focus, devotion, spiritual clarity, and what we consider sacred. Named after the Roman goddess of the hearth and keeper of the sacred flame, Vesta in the natal chart shows where we possess an undying inner spark, where we are willing to make sacrifices, and where we must periodically retreat to purify and recharge our energy. When this asteroid of sacred devotion resides in the second house, the traditional domain of Taurus, personal resources, self-worth, and material security, the spiritual and the physical worlds collide in a profound way. Having Vesta in the second house suggests that your relationship with the material world is not merely transactional, it is a spiritual practice. For you, the concept of security goes far beyond a stable bank account, though financial stability is deeply tied to your peace of mind. Instead, the material realm becomes the very altar upon which you practice your devotion. You are tasked with keeping the flame of self-worth alive, independent of external validation, while learning how to treat your physical body, your talents, and your resources as sacred trusts. The sacred hearth of self-worth. At its deepest psychological level, Vesta in the second house indicates that your sense of self-worth is a sacred flame that must be consciously tended. Many individuals with this placement find that their confidence is not easily given to them by praise or societal status, it must be forged from within. There is a profound need to feel that you are inherently valuable simply because you exist, independent of what you produce or possess. However, because the second house governs our values, you likely hold yourself to an incredibly high, almost puritanical standard of integrity. You cannot easily compromise your core principles for a paycheck or temporary security. If a job, a relationship, or an environment asks you to sell out or diminish your ethical standards, your inner Vesta will rebel. The flame will begin to flicker, resulting in feelings of depletion or a sudden, urgent need to withdraw. For you, self-esteem is directly correlated with how closely you align your daily life with your personal code of ethics. When you live in accordance with your true values, your inner light burns brightly, and you become an immovable force of grounded stability. Money and resources as a spiritual devotion. In the realm of finances, Vesta in the second house introduces a fascinating paradox. On one hand, you have an incredible capacity for laser-sharp focus, discipline, and budgeting. When you commit to a financial goal, whether it is saving for a home, investing in a business, or extricating yourself from debt, you can deny yourself short-term pleasures with monastic discipline. You possess the ability to live simply and conserve resources, treating your finances with a level of respect and reverence that borders on ritualistic. On the other hand, money is rarely sought after for the sake of mere luxury or mindless consumerism. You view money as energy, a tool that allows you to protect what you love, create a safe sanctuary, and maintain your independence. You may find great fulfillment in work that involves preserving resources, working with the earth, curation, or managing the essential assets of others. Because Vesta is associated with sacrifice, there may be periods in your life where you voluntarily choose a simpler, less materialistic lifestyle in order to protect your spiritual or mental freedom. Alternatively, you may have to guard against a tendency to become overly rigid or fearful regarding financial security. If the flame of Vesta turns into an obsession with lack, you might hoard resources or deny yourself the joys of the material world out of a subconscious fear that the fire will go out. The lesson here is to view money as a flowing current that requires responsible stewardship, rather than a static pool to be fiercely guarded. The body is a temple. The second house rules the physical body, our five senses, and our tangible reality. With Vesta here, the phrase "your body is a temple" is not a cliché, it is a literal truth. You are highly sensitive to the physical purity of your environment, the food you consume, and the physical inputs you allow into your space. When life becomes overwhelming, you are prone to experiencing somatic symptoms. Stress immediately registers in your body, often manifesting as physical tension, exhaustion, or a sudden desire to fast and cleanse. To maintain your equilibrium, you require regular periods of physical isolation. Just as the Vestal virgins retreated to the temple to tend the fire away from the chaos of the public square, you must periodically retreat into your physical sanctuary. Engaging with the physical world through deliberate, mindful acts can be deeply therapeutic for you. Cooking whole foods, gardening, working with clay, or simply spending time in nature are not just hobbies, they are forms of meditation. Through grounding yourself in the physical senses, you stoke your inner fire. Furthermore, this placement grants a remarkable capacity for body awareness, making you an excellent candidate for work in the healing arts, massage therapy, holistic nutrition, or any field that honors the sacred intelligence of the physical form. The Vesta shadow, rigidity and sacrificial worth. Every planetary and asteroid placement carries a shadow side, and for Vesta in the second house, this manifests as the trap of over-identification with the physical world or excessive asceticism. Because you take your values so seriously, you can fall into dogmatic thinking about what is good, pure, or valuable. You might become overly critical of your own physical appearance, your earning power, or your possessions, feeling that you are never quite pure or disciplined enough. There is also a risk of sacrificing your own material well-being for the sake of a higher cause, only to find yourself harboring hidden resentment. You might stay in a low-paying job because it feels noble, while secretly starving your need for material comfort. Conversely, you might work yourself to the bone, sacrificing your health and vitality at the altar of financial security, forgetting that your body is the primary asset you must protect. The ultimate evolution of Vesta in the second house requires finding the middle path between the sacred and the profane. It is the realization that the divine is just as present in a beautifully cooked meal, a comfortable chair, and a flourishing bank account as it is in meditation, fasting, and spiritual study. Tending your eternal flame. Ultimately, Vesta in the second house calls you to become the high priest or priestess of your own tangible reality. Your greatest superpower lies in your ability to bring sacred intentionality to the mundane aspects of life. By treating your talents as divine gifts to be cultivated with focus, your money is a tool for conscious manifestation, and your body is a sacred vessel, you anchor a powerful sense of security within yourself that the outside world can never take away. When you stop measuring your worth by societal standards and start measuring it by the warmth and integrity of your own inner hearth, you become an unstoppable force of abundance. You teach the world that true wealth is not about how much we accumulate, but about the reverence and devotion with which we hold what we already have. To understand how this sacred energy manifests for you, we look to the astrological sign hosting your second house Vesta. The sign colors how you protect your security, the specific values you hold sacred, and what methods you use to recharge your physical energy. Fire signs: Aries, Leo, Sagittarius. When Vesta occupies a fire sign in the second house, your self-worth is fueled by autonomy, passion, and the freedom to act on your convictions. You view your vital energy and creative talents as your most sacred resources. Aries, your self-worth is tied to self-reliance and the courage to pioneer your own financial path. You guard your independence fiercely and recharge through intense physical activity or solo ventures. Leo, you treat your creative gifts and personal dignity as sacred trusts. You find devotion in investing your resources into art, self-expression, or protecting the sovereignty of those you love. Sagittarius, your values are deeply intertwined with truth, freedom, and higher philosophy. For you, money is sacred only if it buys the freedom to explore, learn, and expand your horizons. Earth signs: Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. In earth signs, Vesta is exceptionally grounded, amplifying the natural qualities of the second house. You find spiritual alignment through tangible results, masterful craftsmanship, and flawless physical stewardship. Taurus, this is a highly potent placement where the material world truly becomes your altar. You find the divine in nature, stability, and high-quality tangible goods, tending your financial security with immense patience. Virgo, your self-worth is acts of service, purity, and meticulous organization. You treat your health and daily habits as a sacred ritual, often finding focus through editing, healing, or perfecting a physical skill. Capricorn, you approach financial security and resource management with the dedication of a high priest building a lasting monument. Integrity, legacy, and long-term discipline are your sacred principles. Air signs: Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. When Vesta is in an air sign, your values shift toward the intellectual, social, and conceptual realms. You treat ideas, communication, and human connection as assets to be carefully guarded and cultivated. Gemini, you view information, intellectual property, and your versatility as your primary resources. You find focus by compartmentalizing data or dedicating your mind to mastering a specific field of study. Libra, harmony, justice, and aesthetic beauty are your sacred values. You are devoted to creating balance in your environment and finances, viewing relational integrity as your greatest asset. Aquarius, your self-worth is rooted in your individuality and humanitarian ideals. You view your resources as tools to serve the collective, often dedicating your finances to progressive causes or innovative technology. Water signs: Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces. In water signs, Vesta infuses your material world with deep emotional sensitivity, intuition, and psychic undertones. Your resources are intimately tied to your emotional well-being and your capacity to care for others. Cancer, your home, family, and emotional safety are your ultimate sanctuaries. You treat the act of nurturing, cooking, and protecting your inner circle as a sacred devotion. Scorpio, you have a piercing focus when it comes to shared resources, investments, and psychological power. You treat your energetic boundaries as sacred and possess a monastic discipline when transforming your financial life. Pisces, you view your imagination, intuition, and spiritual connection as your truest wealth. You may have a highly idealistic or detached relationship with money, requiring a total retreat into solitude to cleanse your physical and emotional body. The transit of Vesta over your natal second house is a profound, slow-burning period of realignment. When the asteroid of the sacred flame journeys through the house of money, possessions, and self-worth, it acts as a cosmic quality control inspector for your material reality. This transit lasts for several months, or longer if Vesta goes retrograde, demanding that you stop, look at what you own, what you earn, and how you value yourself, and ask, is this truly sacred to me? During this period, you are called to pull your energy back from the superficial distractions of the material world and focus intensely on building an authentic foundation of security. The Great Simplification: Purging and Protecting Resources. When Vesta enters your second house, one of the most immediate shifts occurs in how you manage your money and physical belongings. Vesta acts like a monastic broom, sweeping away excess, waste, and mindlessness. You will likely feel a sudden, compelling urge to declutter your physical space, organize your finances, and cut out unnecessary expenses. This is not a time for wild speculation, impulsive shopping sprees, or financial gambling. Instead, Vesta demands laser-sharp focus and conservation. You might find yourself naturally gravitating toward a simpler lifestyle, finding a strange sense of spiritual peace in budgeting, saving, or living with fewer material things. It is an ideal time to pay off debts, audit your bank accounts, and streamline your assets. If you have been careless with your resources, this transit can bring a temporary cooling-off period financially, not necessarily as a punishment, but as a cosmic boundary forcing you to appreciate, protect, and respect the wealth you already possess. You are learning to view money not as status, but as energy to be responsibly stewarded. The altar of self-worth: moving beyond validation. The most profound work of a second house Vesta transit happens internally. The second house rules our core values and our sense of inherent self-worth. As Vesta moves through this space, it shines its bright, uncompromising light on every area where you have sold yourself short, stayed in a toxic job for a paycheck, or allowed others to dictate your value. You may experience a period where external praise, material status symbols, or approval from others suddenly feels completely empty. This can feel unsettling at first, almost like an identity crisis regarding your productivity or success. However, the purpose of this transit is to help you realize that your worth is non-negotiable and independent of external validation. Vesta asks you to find your value within the sanctuary of your own being. You are forced to look at your natural talents and skills as sacred gifts that deserve to be protected and properly compensated. If you are currently undercharging for your services, working in an environment that violates your ethics, or letting people drain your time, Vesta will give you the quiet, unyielding grit to put up fierce boundaries and say, no more. The body is a sanctuary. Because the second house represents the physical vessel, our body and our five senses, Vesta's presence here turns your physical self into a temporary temple. During this transit, you will become highly sensitized to your physical environment and what you put into your body. You may find that you can no longer tolerate low-quality food, toxic environments, disrupted sleep, or chaotic sensory inputs. Your body will demand a purification process. This is an excellent transit for committing to a clean, nourishing diet or a gentle detox. Establishing rigid, grounding daily routines. Engaging in physical practices that require intense focus and presence, such as yoga, weightlifting, pottery, or gardening. Because Vesta represents the need for periodic isolation to recharge the flame, a second house transit means your physical body needs more quiet time and solo space to rejuvenate. If you overexert yourself or ignore your body's signals, you will likely feel depleted very quickly. Listen to your physical vessel. It is telling you exactly how much energy you have to give. Navigating the shadow, the danger of scarcity thinking. While this transit offers incredible potential for financial discipline and self-possession, it does carry a shadow side. Vesta's focus can sometimes border on obsession, and in the second house, this can manifest as an intense fear of lack or scarcity. You must guard against becoming overly rigid, stingy, or paranoid about your financial security. If you find yourself hoarding money out of fear, or denying yourself basic comforts because you feel unworthy of spending on yourself, you are feeding the shadow of Vesta. True devotion to the second house means recognizing that the material world is inherently abundant. The goal is holy stewardship, not self-punishment or ascetic deprivation. Honoring the transit. A Vesta transit through the second house is ultimately a beautiful, grounding rite of passage. It strips away the noise of consumerism and societal expectations to reveal what truly matters to you. By the time Vesta leaves this house, you will have a much clearer understanding of your core values, a re-energized respect for your physical body, and a tightened, more secure grip on your financial reality. You emerge from this transit knowing that the most valuable asset you own is your own unshakable sense of self. Subscribe, like, and share.